What is going on, Jet fans? Matt O'Leary back with another video. Today we are here to break down the New York Jets and the Pittsburgh Steelers Week 1 matchup. The season returns tonight for the NFL with the defending champion Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Dallas Cowboys. But on Sunday in Week 1, it's a big matchup as the New York Jets and Pittsburgh Steelers face off. Aaron Rodgers returns to MetLife Stadium. Justin Fields going up against the team that gave up on him last year. There are a ton of storylines going into this game. We'll break it all down. I'll give you some player predictions. I'll give you my final score predictions and picks. So without further ado, let's start breaking this thing down. Obviously, the big story this week for the Jets is losing Elijah Vera-Tucker. So what do the Jets do now? They will slide Joe Tippmann to right guard, and Josh Myers will come in and start at center. So this is going to be a big story. How does the offensive line hold up against the Pittsburgh Steelers front? It's a very difficult front to go against, even if Cam Hayward is maybe going to play. It sounds like Mike Tomlin is pretty confident that he will play, but Cam Hayward this week on a podcast was like, we'll see. So I don't think it's a guarantee that he plays in this game. He's been mostly limited, but on the interior, how does Josh Myers do holding up at center? He's been starting in Green Bay. I get it. He was, Justin Fields' college quarterback, college center, but he's been a mediocre starter at best in the league so far. Yes, I think Joe Tippmann sliding over to right guard, I don't have any real concern. Is he as good as Elijah Vera-Tucker? No. Is he a capable starting guard? Yes. And a good starting guard? I would also say yes. How about Armand Membu, man, going up against TJ Watt? Welcome to the NFL, buddy. Good luck. You got to block TJ Watt. I think that's going to be a really tough matchup. So one of the main things I'm looking for in this Jets game is, can the offensive line, which is banged up, they lost, obviously, AVT. They have a new look with Tippmann at guard and Myers at center. Are they going to be able to hold up against arguably their best front that they'll play in the regular season? I think the Giants overall might have been their toughest test. But in the regular season, I think it's the Pittsburgh Steelers with the tough test on the defensive line. We talked about it. It is just storylines galore. Justin Fields making his debut for the Jets, playing up against Aaron Rodgers in his return to MetLife Stadium. Look, from the Jets defensive side, Rodgers joined late in Pittsburgh. He, didn't sign until very late in the offseason, didn't play in the preseason. None of the vets really played. And he usually starts pretty slow. Last year in Week 1, 13 of 21, a 61.9 completion percentage, 167 yards, 1 touchdown, and a pick for an 82.8 rating, and a loss to the San Francisco 49ers in 2022. They lost 23-7 in Green Bay to Minnesota, and then a 38-3 loss to New Orleans in 2021. So, and we know in 2023 he got hurt. So you're looking at blowout loss, injury, double-digit loss with a pick over the last little bit. And I don't know if Rodgers is going to come out of the gate clicking and the Steelers offense is going to come out of the gate clicking. I really do think, and not to give too much away from my prediction portion of the episode here, I think it's going to be a low scoring game. I like the under a lot in this game. I don't think either offense is going to look crazy in sync on the Jets side of things. Justin Fields was up and down in the preseason, had a really good game against the Green Bay Packers, against the Giants. The offense looked a little bit rougher, but they also weren't showing everything that they were doing offensively in that game. So I don't think it's a lock that they're just going to come out and be like, oh, it's awesome, it's perfect. But I'm also not going to go, the Jets offense is going to be horrible and they'll score 3 points in this game. I think it's probably somewhere in the middle. They'll have a couple okay drives and there'll be a couple frustrating drives. I expect, honestly, a defensive battle in this game between two really strong defenses and two offenses that have major question marks. If the Jets are to win this game, they're going to need to get after the quarterback. And the guy that I'm circling is Will McDonald going up against Troy Fautanu. Broderick Jones making the switch from right tackle to left tackle. He beat up on Broderick Jones last year. Hell, I want Will McDonald on the other side just so he could beat Broderick Jones into submission like he did last year. And it's obviously a big story as the Steelers traded up for Broderick right in front of the Jets, and the Jets settled on Will McDonald. Will McDonald beats the crap out of him the last week. Hopefully that's something that happens again. How much does Jermaine Johnson play in this game? That's another big story for the Jets defense on the defensive line. Look, I have some question marks on the Pittsburgh Steelers offensive line as a complete unit. I don't think Broderick Jones is very good so far in the NFL. Fatanu didn't play a ton last year. So I don't know if it clicks right away. This is something where I think it takes a little bit of time, and that's an area where I think the Jets could take advantage. And looking at, the secondary, I think you have to have Sauce Gardner travel with DK Metcalf and take him out of this game. Last year against Seattle was arguably Sauce's best game of the season, and he played against DK, and DK had a catch against him, but Sauce in that game allowed just 2 catches for 28 yards, had a couple big pass deflections down by the goal line, and made plays. And that's going to have to happen in this game, because I think what we saw from Aaron Rodgers last year is he kind of hones in on his number one guy. And at first it was Garrett, and then it became Devontae Adams in the second half of the year. Pittsburgh loves to use 2 tight end sets and 3 tight end sets. They have a bunch of tight ends and who are good, and the rest of the receiving room outside of DK is mediocre, kind of like the Jets, where they have Garrett Wilson and the rest of their wide receiver room is pretty mediocre. They're going to try to get the ball to Metcalf a lot, and Sauce is going to have to, I think personally, play a lot more, man coverage, and I think he can do that. And really, it's going to be up to Brandon Stevens to go against the number 2 and maybe give him some safety help, and someone's got to take the tight ends out of the game. But I think the defensive plan is pretty simple. It's you got to get after the quarterback. You got to hit the quarterback. I've talked about it a bunch this week. Aaron Rodgers in week 4 and 5 last year looked the worst, and that was against Minnesota and Denver, 2 of the teams that blitzed the most and 2 of the teams that got after him and knocked him around. He's 41 years old. He just doesn't really want to take hits anymore, so they got to do it early. Offensively, kind of obvious, right? Run the damn ball. That's what the Jets are going to be having to do. They aren't going to be able to throw it all over the yard on the Steelers team. Plus, the Jets aren't built that way. Run and wreak havoc. Justin Fields, Braylon Allen, Breece Hall, all 3 of them should be involved. Get creative. It's a really big first test for Tanner Engstrand and this New York Jets offense. And they want to establish an identity. So I'm hoping that the Jets go out there and are able to do that in week 1. All right, it is time for my sleeper player predictions. Breece Hall, I have more than 19.5 receiving yards. I think the Jets are going to utilize him in the passing game. Justin Fields dumps it off to Breece Hall a couple times. Breece Hall might be able to get this on 1 catch. That he's very good with the ball in his hands. Yards after the catch, I think he's used a lot as a passer. I'm thinking like 4-5 catches and somewhere around 45-50 yards in receiving for him. I have Aaron Rodgers less than 1.5 passing touchdowns. I think Pittsburgh will get in the end zone, but I don't think this is going to be one of those games where they come out and the offense is firing. Honestly, we'll get to it in a second, but I'd be surprised if either team makes it to 20 points. I think this is a low-scoring game. I also have Justin Fields more than 25-plus rushing yards in this game. I think we didn't see it a lot in the preseason, but I think we'll see some more designed runs, and Justin Fields, when something isn't there, isn't afraid to tuck it and run. So with these picks, that'll 2.91x your bet with these picks. Make sure to use promo code O'Leary, and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. For the rest of my predictions, you know what I do. I usually give you, the quarterbacks, and I'll give you another player to look for. So Justin Fields in this game, thinking somewhere around 14 to 22, a 63.6 completion percentage, 147 yards, no touchdowns, no picks, 35 rushing yards, and 1 rushing touchdown in this game. So an okay debut. Breece Hall, I also think gets in the end zone. I have him 12 carries, 52 yards, and a rushing touchdown. I also think he goes over 25 receiving yards in this game. Aaron Rodgers, I think, will be okay. 20 of 34, 58-8 completion, 1 touchdown, and 1 pick as well. Michael Carter, the 1 on the interception. All right, score prediction time. The Jets are 2.5-point dogs at home. I am taking the Jets plus 2.5 and the under. Those are 2 things I like from this game. The Jets win 17-16 on a game-winning field goal by Nick Folk as time expires. This is going to be a ugly defensive battle, as I mentioned. I think this is, roughly a 3-point game either direction. I wouldn't be shocked if the Pittsburgh Steelers came out and won this game. I just think, home crowd for the Jets, Aaron Glenn in his debut, I think he's going to have his guys playing hard, especially after the comments from Aaron Rodgers on the Pat McAfee show about Aaron Glenn. Justin Fields looking for revenge. I think, the Jets have just enough to squeak out a win. Not a pretty win, but a win is a win. We don't really necessarily care about how they come, just as long as they get wins in the win column. If you are thinking the Jets to win, sign up for our People Guest contest brought to you by Mellow Fellow. Super easy to get in. Just click the link down below to make your predictions for each game. We'll be tracking your stats to see which Jets fans know most in my community versus like the Jets Central's community, for example. So sign up, make your picks, see how smart you are with your Jets knowledge. I took the Jets to win. Will you? Thank you to Mellow Fellow for sponsoring our People Guest segment. Use promo code PGMEL15 for 15% off your entire order. And go to mellowfellow.fun/peopleguest to get in on the action. All right, guys, that'll do it for me in this one. Thanks so much for hanging out. I'm Matt O'Leary, and I'll catch you next time.